It is afternoon, everybody. Hello. Welcome. I am here at on location at the Columbine Memorial. There you see the ribbon, never forgotten, as this week in particular, a tough week, is on April 20th, 2024, 5 days after this video is being recorded. Will mark 25 years since the Columbine shooting happened. And I know there was controversy at the time over who's to blame, as I show you the memorial of the people who passed on that tragic day on April 20th, 99. And I know, again, controversy over who's to blame. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to mention the shooters' names in this video. That's not going to happen. And I think about what the parents and the other loved ones went through. Not only losing their loved ones, but they say goodbye to their kids for the day and see you tonight, and whatever the conversations were, not knowing they'd never see their kids again. And the thought of that is just overwhelming to me. And the other thought, that part of what amazes me about sports, the Columbine girls soccer team, about a month later, made it all the way to the state championship game, about a month or so after the tragedy, and they lost the title game to Green Mountain 2-0. But still, the fact they even made it that far, that amazes me beyond belief. And what also amazes me is what the football team did the following fall. As I will go back just for a minute to this tribute to Matthew Hector, the player for whom Columbine dedicated their football in season 2 in 99. So they've dealt with the loss of Matt, they've dealt with the loss of others, 13 people to be exact, and yet they go to the state championship game. They have to face a very tough Cherry Creek team on the road. This was before neutral sites for the championship game. They fall behind 14-0. And then they win 21-14. I don't ever remember, and I've been a sports fan all my life, a championship at any level won under tougher circumstances. Amazing what the players did, and what Coach Andy Lowry did, and everyone else involved. Just incredible what they did. The other scary thing, if bombs had gone off in the building, going back to the tragedy itself, if bombs had gone off in the building like the shooters planned, it could have been much worse. But much more than enough damage was done. The deaths of 13 people, 12 students, and 1 teacher. How anybody got through that, I'll never know. A tribute to students and the parents and the teachers. I mentioned Andy Lowry, Peter Horvath, the girls' soccer coach at the time, and Frank DeAngelis, the principal at the time. I've met all of them, and they're all terrific leaders. They're all terrific leaders. They're all terrific people. And I know my story won't compare to the story of those at Columbine that day, but I'll just share what it was like as I continue showing you tributes to those who died on April 20th, 99. On that day, I was a freshman at nearby Dakota Bridge. And in the middle of a passing period, we were told to get to class by an adult. And then a teacher came by and mentioned there was a shooting at Columbine, and nobody really thought anything big at the time, really. Nobody knew exactly what was going on. In class, I was in math class right after the passing period. That went on like usual. But then late in class, I turned the TVs on. We found out how rough everything was, how there'd been multiple fatalities, and the nightmare that was playing out. We were on lockdown for at least a half hour, probably close to an hour after school ended. One kid Didn't act like he cared that much at the time, but I think he later retracted that. And we're all stunned and sad, at least most of us were stunned and saddened. We didn't know what exactly to do. And even a teacher found it very strange when all of 2 days later we were back in school, less than 48 hours. After 13 innocent people lost their lives and others were injured, 10 minutes or so from where we were back in school. Even a teacher of mine was not happy about that. And I think to show how testy everything was, 17 days after the shooting, we were at an assembly. I was, like just about the whole student body at Dakota Ridge, and an administrator just went nuts. This is all your fault, and you've done all the bad things. Everybody's immature, and I realize not always the greatest people around, but it's like we weren't there that day. That was hard to listen to. I didn't get to go to a couple of events in the coming months. Parents didn't want me to, and in one case at least, they referenced Columbine as a reason. And that was tough, but that was life. And I go back to this tragedy for a quick second. I know I'm bouncing back and forth here, but if I make it to the 75-year remembrance of this event, heaven forbid, will it make any sense to me or anyone? Will it even remotely make sense? And this wouldn't be the last tragedy I'd hear about. Well, a few months afterward, because I was at Dakota Ridge instead of Columbine, my life returned to quote-unquote normal. I think about September 11th, 2001, when I was having more bad days than good days anyway, for personal reasons. Then came the terrorist attacks in New York and Washington, D.C., and another one thwarted in Pennsylvania. Killed a bunch of people. Killed thousands, literally. And then mass shooting in Parkland in Florida. And then one 45 minutes from here or so in 2012 in Aurora, the theater shooting. And the Sandy Hook shooting later that year in Connecticut. And the one in Florida was 2018, somewhere in there, if I get the year wrong, or 2019. If I get the year wrong, somebody feel free to correct me, but I remember hearing about that, the one in Uvalde, Texas, just a couple of years ago at Robb Elementary School. Just awful. So as I continue showing you the names and some messages about them, I also want to talk about my personal relationship with Columbine. And I know the rep maybe isn't always the greatest. This is where the big shooting happened. And this is where the school shootings began. The big ones, well, my personal belief about Columbine is much different. And that began my relationship with the school. As I'll go down, I'll walk around here, show you dark clouds coming in, I think only appropriate, given where I'm at and what I'm talking about. But as I go to show you some messages here on the wall, my relationship with Columbine began on April 27th, 2000. I was a raw 15-year-old sophomore. Dakota Ridge baseball coach Jeff Legault took a chance on me doing PA announcing for a baseball tournament, remembering Columbine. In Columbine, the Rebels themselves played in that tournament. And Coach Robin Ortiz went over all the names with me, all the tough ones, which there were some. Was very helpful. As these are some moving messages, by the way. But Coach Ortiz was very helpful, and then, as the tournament went on, players were congratulating me. They were saying, great job. They even gave me a round of applause. I mean, I remember players like Zach Rousey, Brian Mason, Wajak, among others, giving me rounds of applause and being very supportive, and these are players from a rival school doing that. That blew me away, still does blow me away. And though I didn't see most of the players after that, I called a couple games of theirs against Dakota the following year and then didn't see most of them again, if any of them again, because we were at different schools doing different things. Still, I feel very good about the way they've helped me during that baseball tournament, my first in 2000. And I've seen Coach Ortiz a few times since then, and Robin, still a fine guy, still very helpful. And that goes with 4 other members of the Columbine staff. Ivory Moore, an assistant to Andy Lowry on the football staff. Very few people as fine as he is. Firmly shakes my hand every time I see him. Says events at Jeffco aren't the same without me, because I do have to miss some now and then. Gets lunch whenever I do his track meet. Just a fine guy all the way around. Athletic Secretary Danielle Olson, who lets me know when I screw up, for sure, but also make sure everything goes well, always says hi to me. Same with Athletic Director Derek Doc Holliday. And then the person who's been as helpful to me as anyone from Columbine, current Principal Scott Christie. As you see this message from former President Bill Clinton, who was president when the Columbine tragedy happened. But still, Scott Christie, like Ivory Moore, he'll give me a firm handshake. He'll say hi to me whenever he sees me. He's thanked me for what I do for high school students, even though I graduated from rival Dakota Ridge and still do a lot for them. And he gave me the green light to do this project, to do this video. I didn't tell him exactly where I'd be, but still, when I told him the message, he gave me the green light, and he is just an awesome guy, Scott Christie is. And beyond just me, very helpful to all of his students. As here's another guy, the quote from another guy who's been helpful to me over the years, Lee Andres, who I see at football games quite a bit. Man, Scott Christie and the crew at Columbine, this Dakota Ridger, thankful to know those people at Columbine that I just mentioned, from Scott Christie to Lee Andres, Ivory Moore, Danielle Olson, Doc Holliday, you name it. Andy Lowry, all the rest of them. Pretty awesome. So I continue quickly showing you these messages. Is April 20th, 1999, as tough as ever for a lot of people, especially those here at Columbine. 13 lives, innocent lives, lost forever. Very tough, very sad, but still a fine community. And I am a big fan of Columbine, and I'll even say this. I have a press box named after me at Dakota Ridge, like I've mentioned before. I'm not above that kind of publicity for myself. But I've got the press box at Dakota Ridge. I've moved up to the college level to Regis University to announce sports. I've been at Jeffco Stadium for many years, as well as other Jeffco places, the NAC, Lakewood Memorial, and Trailblazer. And I've done baseball. I did baseball at Wheat Ridge for years, and I'm now at Golden doing baseball there as well. Columbine has played a part in that. Without their support, I wouldn't be where I am. I know that. I know that for sure. As I continue to, I'll finish showing you these messages. I'll shut up. I'll wish you the great rest of your day if you can. If possible, give your loved ones extra hugs and handshakes. And I will finish this video showing you the rest of these messages on the wall here at the Columbine Memorial. Take care, everyone.